All right, let's talk about angle, side angle, and angle, angle, side. So we've talked about side, side, side. That's probably the simplest one to identify, where all three sides are marked as congruent. So side, 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 probably the easiest one to identify. Side angle side is a little bit trickier, because remember, we're looking at two sides, and what we call that included angle. So if I look at where those two sides meet up, right in between those two sides, that's where my included angle needs to go. Just as the name implies, the angle is in between the two sides. Now, what does it mean for two shapes to be congruent, or two triangles specifically, but two shapes, any two shapes to be congruent? They've got to be the same shape, the same size. So let's find some missing angle measures. We know that all three angles in a triangle have to add up to 180. So I would subtract 113 and 36 from 180 and get 31 degrees. 140, 149, 180. Or here, 113 and 36, subtract from 180, get 31 degrees. Notice this is a different triangle. It's a little bit bigger. And here's sort of our medium triangle, the Goldilocks triangle. Same thing, 31 degrees. So you can see that these three triangles, even though they're the different sizes, same shape. And all it took was two given angles, because that third angle had to be 31. So if this is two angles given, that's 31. Two angles given, that's 31. Two angles given, that's 31. So the two angles determined the same shape, but they could be different sizes. And the way that we fix the size is we need to have one side, one of the three sides. AB or BC or AC. Each side could be a possible side to use to determine that it's the same size. So the side determines the size, and the two angles that were given determine the shape. We have two different congruence criteria here today. We have angle, side, angle. Notice the word side is in between the two angles. So if the side is in between the two angles, same thing with my picture. You can see there's my two angles. The side is in the middle. Or here we have two angles in a row and then a side, so the side is not in between them. And then if I look at my picture, here's my two angles, and the side is not between them. It's over here. And it could be over here. It doesn't have to be on the left side. It could be down on the bottom there. I would still have angle, angle, side. As long as it's not in the middle, that's how I determine that it's angle, angle, side. So let's look for angle, side, angle, or angle, angle, side in these 6 problems down below. Now, what are the two things that we can always mark in? We can always mark in our reflexive property. Let me remind us of that. We can always mark in the reflexive property, those shared sides. And vertical angles. Those are the only two things that I can mark in myself. Everything else, I have to imagine that if it's not shown, it doesn't exist, even if it looks like it. So here's some sides that are shown. Here's some angles that are shown. No reflexive property sides, no shared sides, but I've got angles in the middle. Those vertical angles. So I can mark them because they're vertical angles. They always have to be congruent. Or in B, here's the given sides. I know I can always mark in reflexive sides. Or in C, I've got another pair of reflexive property sides. Let's see, no vertical angles in D or E or F. But here's another reflexive property side. So we can always mark in those. I'm going to change to blue here. And let's see what we have. I have an angle, I have an angle, and I have a side. So far it looks like angle, angle, side. But let me check the other one just to be sure. I have an angle, I have an angle, I have a side. So since both of these are angle, angle, side, that's got to be my final answer. Let's try letter B. I have a side, I have a side. I don't know anything about the angles at all. And over here I've got a side and a side. I don't know anything about the angles, so that would be not congruent because I don't have angle, side, angle. I don't have angle, angle, side. I don't even have side, angle, side. I don't have side, side, side. I have no idea if these are congruent or not, so I'm going to have to assume not congruent. And in C, here's an angle. There's my side in the middle. And there's my angle. So these would be angle, side, angle, example. Notice that the side is in between the two angles. That's why it's angle, side, angle. Try these next three. Pause your video and then unpause it and check your work. So we'd unpause it. These are not congruent. These are not congruent. These are angle, side, angle congruent because angle, side included, then an angle. Check the last example here, then we'll do some proofs. So tell whether I can show any theorems or postulates. Again, vertical angles. Then pause your video, unpause it to check your work. I should have these two as my two theorems. Alright, make sure if you need help on the proofs, you watch the proofs video. Otherwise, I will see you in class tomorrow.